I already know.
It is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the German Township Trustees to order. Your rise with a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Houston, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, good evening. Dr. Cross here, Mr. Stouts here, Mr. Potter here, all are present.
Before we start the rest of our visitor comments, Sergeant Jones has a little presentation.
Well, as most of you know,
Please state your name and address. I'm sorry. Can't go by the rules.
Dylan Jones, 12102, State Route 725.
Thank you.
Edith is retiring. I just had something real quick I wanted to read. I think the chief has something as well. A little bit of backstory about how I got into K-9. On the 14th of February, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I was on patrol when, long story short, I had interrupted a burglary or theft in progress of lawn equipment here in the township. I had located the suspect's vehicle and multiple pieces of equipment that the subject was planning to steal. As a young officer, I did not immediately think to call for a K-9 and took off on foot to find the subject myself. After my failed attempt, I requested a K-9. Sergeant Gibson, then Officer Gibson, and K-9 Bear responded. Although I had already contaminated the area with odor and disturbed about everything there was to disturb, Sergeant Gibson and Bear gave it their best efforts. Sergeant Gibson afterwards gave me some great advice for future scene containment. We did not locate the suspect that night, but I was able to see firsthand a K-9 team really work. And if not for this call and for Tony and Bear responding, I probably wouldn't have my own dog today. So, Tony, thank you. Edith began his career in German Township in 2017 when he was purchased from Mr. Shartner. Edith was imported from Germany before coming to the United States. Edith was able to be purchased strictly from donations, not only from residents of German Township, but all over the Mine Valley. Not for these donations, the K-9 program would not have been able to happen. We received an overwhelming amount of money just in a few weeks to make this happen. In 2017, Edith and myself began our K-9 Academy with Police Dog Services. Our first certification was completed. Edith and I became a team in January of 2018 and dual purpose patrol and narcotics. After our first certification, we began working weekly trainings with Middletown Police. Hey, come here. We began training weekly with Middletown Police, and Edith and myself would not have gained the experience we have today if not for our training groups. Hey, sit. So thank you, Middletown, again, for letting us come train with you guys. Over a 6-year career, K-9 Edith had over 235 deployments, detection and patrol uses, and Edith was responsible for over 10 firearms being recovered. Edith certified every year with the state of Ohio for narcotics and patrol, and later in his career certified with the United States Police Canine Association. Edith did multiple public demonstrations for multiple communities and events in the area, including National Night Outs, Valley View School events, and Cub Scouts. Edith's last day in service will be tomorrow. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yep.
Chief, do you have anything to add to that?
Just like the sergeant said, it's with a very heavy heart that we're announcing that K-9 Edith is retiring. He's been a valuable part of our team, and he's like one of the other officers. So basically, Edith will get to live out the rest of his days, happy-go-lucky dog with Sergeant Jones' family. And as we agreed, the purchase of $1 by Sergeant Jones from the township, take ownership of K-9 Edith. So the reason that we're retiring is basically, he's 8 years old. That's around the age that dogs are retired. A big reason is because of the new marijuana laws in the state of Ohio. Canine Edis is imprinted on marijuana, and due to the new laws and word from the prosecutor's office in Montgomery County, a lot of the drug cases that aren't marijuana are getting denied just because there's presence of marijuana in the vehicle, so they don't know what the dog's hitting. Basically that has a lot to do with what we're doing, why we're doing this, and it stifled his success. So a big reason as well is Sergeant Jones has taken on the role of sergeant. He's got a lot more to do as a sergeant than a canine sergeant in other departments. So it was a lot on Sergeant Jones. So I'd like to thank Sergeant Jones for his tenacity in getting the program started. He worked very hard to get this program going, and I would like to thank him for that. I think he represented the township very well through the years. He's very professional, and he's done a fantastic job with the canine program. So I would like to thank Sergeant Jones, and I would like to present him with the certificate of retirement, Canine Edis, and we look forward to seeing him time to time. I hope you bring him up every.
He'll be here.
Take a look at it.
Dave, you want a picture?
We don't put the camera on it?
Really? I can't see where it's aiming, so.
You're good. Perfect. He's
So photogenic. No, that's
I think we should do a resolution. One, proving the retirement and disposal of our active asset for $1 to Sergeant Jones. So if someone would like to introduce resolution number 39.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say disposal. Yeah, I'm not gonna say disposal. I will make a resolution, which will be 2024
What's 39?
39, a resolution to accept the retirement of Canine Edis from the German Township Police Department, as well as change ownership to Sergeant Jones for $1 as per agreed when the program was started.
I will second that.
Any discussion of this very important resolution?
I would just like to add, I was here when you made the presentation, the initial presentation to get this program started. And I appreciate all your work along the way, because it was only because of you that this was even possible. And the donations that the community provided and the support that you received for doing this was impressive along the way. So he's definitely going to be missed, but you did a great job. And this was only possible because of what you did. So thank you.
Any other discussion?
I would also like to thank Middletown. When he first started, we talked about who would be best for him to train with, and we knew that Middletown had a fantastic program, and I think Jones showed himself very well for the township with the Middletown training group. I did receive a letter from their chief of police, and okay. And it was a real nice letter, basically talking about how the sergeant has handled himself over the years and that he's done a fantastic job. But I would like to thank you guys for allowing us to train with. Thank you.
I'll share my personal experience with our wonderful canine. I was president of the Lions Club the year that we obtained our canine, and Lions made a small donation. Certainly many people in the community did so. But Sergeant Jones brought Edis to one of our meetings shortly after receiving him. He was impressive, not only Edis, but also Sergeant Jones was impressive. So I thank you all these years later for sharing that with us that night. Any other comments? I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-39 is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you again, Sergeant Jones.
Yep, thank you.
You all can stick around for the rest of the meeting. You don't have to.
I think we're going to take him outside otherwise.
Oh, he just pulled, Marsden just got back in.
I told him an hour ago that she was on the way. Then it not.
Right out the room.
All right, we'll move on to visitor comments. Anybody who has comments, please come to the podium and state your name and address, and first time, then your name after
Is that when you bring up new stuff?
that. Yeah.
That's right.
When you bring up new stuff.
Well, James Rowland, 10021 Carlisle Pike. I had a question concerning the SRM's access to their plant. They're continuing to use Butter Street. Understanding is they're not supposed to use Butter Street. They're using the DUPS access along the railroad tracks. And DUPS actually has their access by the new park secured with locks. But the access there, SRM is opening up and using it to run their dump trucks in and out and stuff. And I was wondering what could be done to stop that, because I know that their plant is on Sugar Street and that Eckhart Road is supposed to be their access to the other part. The other part that they have. And I didn't know if there's a letter that could be sent to them to tell them to cease and desist or something to, and if there's evidence that I need to gather or something, what they're doing that's not following what they're supposed to be doing.
Mr. Rowland, I'm actually going to bring that up tonight in my report.
Okay,
That
all right.
exact same thing you're talking about.
That's great.
So
If I have questions afterwards, then I can.
Yeah, you can.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other visitor comments? Thanks, Jim.
Do you want to? Them so they can.
Oh, yeah. Well, are you guys here to discuss the levy?
just, you're in support.
Okay. We're going to discuss that in the fiscal officer report just in a few minutes, so if you want to stick around. Okay, let's move on to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Heaston?
Okay, good evening again, everyone. First of all, we'll start with the minutes. I've given you the minutes from the May 8th special meeting as well as the May 13th regular meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, either one?
The only thing I had in the 5/13/24 minutes, it was the third bullet point on my report. And the date should be 6/29/24 and it came out as 6/2/39/24.
Let me find it.
That's the only thing I thought.
Third bullet point. Oh, look at that. As many times as I proof it. Should be 6/29.
6/29, not 6/2/39. A lot of days for June.
Okay,
And that otherwise that was fine.
with that change, I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
I'd like to move to approve the minutes for the 5/8/24 special meeting and the 5/13/24 regular meeting as amended.
Second. I don't care. We'll give it to him.
Give it to Mr. Potter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we have the May financial reports. I've given you, as always, 5 reports, the fund status at the end of May, the year-to-date cash summary by fund through the end of May, month of May, cash summary by fund, the May receipts, and the May payments. And I have three items I want to highlight. First of all, receipt number 128 for $84,928.89. It was from the state of Ohio, and it is the first half homestead and rollback tax payments in lieu of tax payment. Then warrant number 50770 for $580,202.20 to the city of Germantown is Germantown's share of the first half road levy tax collections, as well as 90% of all the tax collections of the other 5 joint levies, less some related expenses. And finally, warrant number 50772 for $10,307.25. The First National Bank of Germantown is the semi-annual payment for the Valley View Water and Sewer District loan. We have 3 payments remaining through December of 2025, and they will total $30,921.74. Any questions on the financials? Not, could I have a motion to approve the financial reports as well as the payment of May bills?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the May financial reports and authorize the payment of May bills, warrants 50768 through 50773 and vouchers 303 through 467 for payroll direct deposit, tax withholdings, and other electronic payments.
A second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Due to Dr. Cross's unavailability, I attended in his place the May 23rd Fire and EMS Oversight Committee meeting. Fire Chief Dan Aldred, who is here tonight, reported that the EMS billing provider Change, CHANGE, Change Healthcare will not be renewing the city's contract. The new billing provider will be Ambulance Billing Network, otherwise known as ABN. The billing charge will now decrease from 6.5% with Change to now 5% with ABN. Chief Aldred noted that the department planned to purchase a replacement pickup from Weiler Auto Group in Batavia at an approximate cost of $50,000, including upfitting. He also informed the Oversight Committee about the 2 grants his department recently received and gave credit to you trustees for approving the additional funds needed above the grant awards that were given to the city from holdbacks in the township's fire and EMS fund. I think I've summarized that. Okay. Moving on, also, the majority of that meeting was spent reviewing the potential fire and EMS levy. After some extensive discussion, the committee passed a motion recommending that the trustees place an additional 4.0 mil permanent levy on the November ballot. Now, I have given you the resolution that we will use for this to this effect. However, you can always change that number. So if you prefer running one of the other 2 levies that we recently had certified by the county auditor, we can do so, and we'll just simply change the relevant sections. The other 2 options are, 1, a replacement of the 2002-2006 2.0 mil levy with a 5.0 mil levy. And the second one is a replacement of the 2002-2006 2.0 mil levy with a 2.0 mil levy. Now, my suggestion is that you follow the recommendations that were first made by the study committee and now made by the oversight committee and approve running a 4 mil levy to allow the public to weigh in on this option. If that levy should fail in November, we can then run one of the other 2 options, or even look at a third new option next May of 2025. And with that in mind, I will turn it over to you for discussion.
We've talked about this a lot before. 4.0 mils is a lot, but it's going to really, I think, be necessary. So I think, and again, I concur with Mark, is let's run a 4, see how it does. Let the voters decide. And then if things do not work out, we can just make a decision on running something.
No, it's definitely a lot. One thing I meant to ask, I should have asked you guys last month that I didn't do. This has been brought up, not necessarily with you guys, but the admin fees that the city charges. They're taking $60,000 out of your fire EMS budget every year. And approximately 8 years they've been doing this, that's $500,000. They should have gone to the fire department. It did not. How is it fair to the voters who vote for a fire levy, whether it be 4 mil or 2 mil, and the city's taken a pretty significant chunk of that for admin fees when they're not doing dispatching? You guys are doing most of your, like, I just don't understand how they can justify taking that much out of your budget that you could have, that's $500,000 that you guys could have had and used over that period of time. Does that seem just to you? I mean, I just don't see what
I know they do a lot of administrative duties with that money for fire and EMS, payroll, and other things.
Well, maybe something when budget times comes around toward the end of the year or whatever, when we do that.
But I'll say, I said last month, a 4 mil levy's gonna be darn near impossible.
But if you look at the numbers, and I don't want to take up too much time to discuss this to go, but one of the lowest village funded departments in a wide area.
You need to be sure you get that out to the public.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yes. We're gonna work very hard to inform the public and let them know. The district to our east, Miami Valley Fire District, I know they're a much more well-to-do district as far as a lot of commercial and stuff, but they passed an 11 mil levy a few years ago. So I'm asking for not even half of that supplement and bolster so that we can keep providing services like we have.
And Chief, since you didn't introduce yourself, I will for you.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's been Chief Dan Aldred talking, 75 North Walnut Street.
Correct.
If someone would like to introduce a resolution, we'll make that 2024-40. If you want to read the whole thing, wouldn't hurt to do so. I have written it as if it's a 4 mil. If you introduce it with something different, I will tell you where to make changes as you read through.
We'll do that. Voice is not really-
Yeah. I'll introduce resolution 2024-40, a resolution determining to proceed to the levy of tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation. Whereas the Board of Trustees, can we read the whole thing? Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
The Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio have determined that the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount for the necessary requirement for the operation of the Fire and Emergency Medical Services Department. And whereas the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio have determined that it is necessary to levy a tax outside the 10 mil limitation for German Township. And whereas the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio proposes that said tax be an additional levy for fire and emergency medical services, specifically for providing and maintaining fire apparatus, mechanical resuscitators, underwater rescue, recovery equipment, and other fire equipment and appliances, building and sites, therefore, or sources of water supply and materials, therefore the establishment and maintenance of lines of fire alarm communication for the payment of firefighting companies or permanent, part-time, or volunteer firefighting, emergency medical services, administrative or communication personnel to operate the same, including the payment of any employer contributions required for such personnel under sections 145.48 or 742.34 of the revised code for the purchase of ambulance equipment for the provision of ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services operated by a fire department or firefighting company, or for the payment of other related costs as specified in section 5705.19I of the Ohio Revised Code, and
If I could stop you right there. Everything you just read in that whereas is directly out of the ORC.
yes. Whereas the levy shall be at a rate of 4 mils for each $1 of valuation, which amounts to 40 cents for each $100 of valuation for a continuous period of time commencing in 2024, first due in calendar year 2025. And whereas the county auditor has certified the total current valuation of the unincorporated and incorporated area of German Township and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by the proposed levy annually. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, 2/3 of all members of elected or appointed thereto concurring. Section 1, that the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio hereby determines to proceed with an additional levy and question of said tax levy shall be submitted to the electors of the unincorporated and incorporated portions of German Township at the general election to be held November 5th, 2024. If said tax is approved by a majority of said electors, such tax levy shall first placed upon the 2024 tax list and duplicate for first collection in calendar year 2025. Section 2, that the fiscal officer of the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, be and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the Board of Elections, Montgomery County, Ohio, no less than 90 days before the date of said election upon which it will be voted, and notify the said Board of Elections to cause notice of election on the question of levying said tax to be given as required by law.
Is there a second to resolution 2024-40?
Seconded.
Any discussion of the resolution?
Just one question. It says 40 cents for every $100 of valuation. We had it discussed, it wasn't it $140 dollars per 100,000 is what I had wrote down from last month, and that wouldn't be 40 cents.
It's going to be the difference. A 4 mil levy is 40 cents on $100.
Okay. Was that the total I must have wrote down then? There was $140 per 100,000. I don't. It's 40 cents for it. Okay, I was just, I
didn't do that calculation, so I don't really want to address.
yeah, it's what
I
we
think Mr.
discussed,
Stiver did that down
Okay.
at the city,
because that doesn't,
but he may be looking, what he may be doing is looking at the assessed valuation versus the valuation.
okay,
Because, we only tax at 35%
right,
of the valuation. So he was looking at a $200,000, which would be taxed as if it was 70,000.
okay. Okay. I just think it's a lot to ask for. That's just my last words.
Any other discussion? Not, I will call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-40 is adopted. Work hard, gentlemen.
We thank you. We appreciate it. We will.
Good luck.
We have to see. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Timing was perfect. All right, moving forward. The township has received preliminary approval from the state of Ohio to become an official America 250-OH community for the United States. And I'm gonna actually pronounce it this month. Semi-quincentennial. So in order to finalize our participation, you need to adopt a resolution, which I did provide to you. We will make that 2024-41.
Am I reading again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, I'll introduce resolution 2024-41, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County, supporting the Ohio Commission for the America 250. I'm not saying that. Whereas the Ohio legislator and the governor created America 250-OH in 2018 to plan, encourage, develop, and coordinate the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the United States and Ohio's integral role in that event and the role of its people on the nation's past, present, and future. And whereas America 250-OH hopes to engage all Ohioans and all 88 counties through their many signature and officially recognized programs, projects, and events over the next several years by inspiring future leaders and celebrating all Ohioans' contribution to the nation over the last 250 years. And whereas by adoption of the America 250-OH resolution, we hope to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate. Now therefore be it resolved, hereby resolved that the Board of Trustees of German Township, Montgomery County hereby endorses America 250-OH and their mission to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate every Ohioan in every county. And it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the America 250-OH Commission.
Thanks, Jake.
No problem.
So second to the resolution.
Second.
So just a reminder, Germantown has also applied for the same status. And we're going to be doing a joint celebration between Germantown, the township, and the Historical Society of Germantown. Each entity, including you, have agreed to put some startup money in for this celebration. When the time comes, I will do a resolution with you for your contribution. Each of those entities putting in 1,000 as seed money. So I heard today from the city, they've just done the same resolution, I believe. So we're going to be good to go after tonight. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, just a reminder that all funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA, must be appropriated by the end of this year, or we risk having those unappropriated funds clawed back at the Treasury Department. Current balance in the ARPA fund is $16,687. However, should the legislature ultimately award us the $30,000 grant we applied for the Twin Creek Erosion Project, which we paid using ARPA funds already, then we would put that money back into the ARPA fund and the unappropriated amount would increase to $46,687. So we have 6 months to figure out how we want to spend either 16 and change or 46 and change. And we won't know that probably till mid to late summer, whether we get that additional 30,000. I know that various projects have been discussed. You just need to kind of settle on which one you want to give the money to. And I believe there'll be some discussion in Chief's report tonight that might also give you some ideas.
I still like the ideal of a digital sign out front.
I think there's other areas we can probably apply the money to. They're more important at this time. Anyway, we'll discuss.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. I have still not received from the Auditor of State a draft report from their recent agreed upon procedures review. I'm told that the review of our report is being delayed due to a heavy workload in the auditor's local office, specifically their project auditing Montgomery County, which is their biggest audit that they do locally here. But anyway, once the final report is received, we'll make sure that that gets made available for the public's review on our website. Back on May 17th, I assume the representative from Otarma, the Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority, was here at the township to appraise our real estate and personal property. I never checked with either one of you, but I was not able to be present that day. And I thank Mr. Holbrook and Ms. Close for working with the appraiser that day. So thanks for handling that. And finally, just a reminder about the Montgomery County Township Association meeting that's going to be held here at the township on June 27th. The meeting will start at 6 o'clock. A dinner consisting of hamburgers, hot dogs, and so forth will be provided starting at 5:30 by the Germantown Lions Club. Township employees and township residents are welcome to attend if interested. And if you do wish to attend, please send me your RSVP so that I can let the Lions know how much food they need to prepare.
We did receive back from Chris Snyder the invitation to all the members, so that's out there. We're just waiting for RSVPs. Think about 20 to 30 participants.
So I have Dr. Cross's RSVP. If anyone else wants to come.
I'll be there. Do you want me to email it to you or?
No.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I'll be there. Yep.
I have a conflicting thing I have to get worked out.
Well, we'll miss you.
I'm not
You're
saying I won't be there. I
I'll
gotta
eat
work
your
it.
hamburger.
You can have it.
Okay, but certainly residents are welcome to. It is, I mean, typically we don't get a lot of residents at these events, but there's no reason why you can't come. You will, it's always very interesting. You will learn about some things happening in the county. So I don't know who the speakers are that night, but it's always someone interesting. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Easton. We'll go with the police department report next.
Last month, our officers drove 5,794 miles. We were dispatched on 94 calls and we closed 88 calls. We had 14 case follow-ups. We had 2 misdemeanor arrests and 1 felony arrest. We performed 378 business checks, 31 vacant house checks, and 897 occupied house checks. We had 12 crashes in the township, made 34 traffic stops, and wrote 14 citations. Any questions about that? On equipment issues or general information, I recently learned that Marks, which is Ohio's multi-agency radio communication system, will be implementing a new radio authentication security update, which will protect Ohio first responders by eliminating unauthorized radios from accessing the system. The Marks basically is Ohio's fleet, has complete control over our radio dispatch systems. So basically what that means for us is all of our dispatch communication with portable and mobile radios will be affected. This is a mandatory update and it will have to be in place by July of 25, which requires purchase of equipment prior to that. So basically, all 8 of our portable radios, which is the officer carried radios, which are APX 6000 and 4000s, those will be able to be updated with a total cost of $1,736. That's $1,016 for the security patches and $720 for the installation and programming. And I have the quote for that here through Motorola Solutions. All 5 of our mobile radios, which are in the cruisers, those are all 20+ years old. I was trying to find how old those are. I don't have a record of how old those are. I know they're at least 20 years old. Those will not be able to receive an upgrade. They're the XTL 2500 models, and to replace all of those will be a total of $25,907.25. That's $5,091.45 per radio, and then $450 for programming fees. That's the total cost. It's $90 each for all 5 radios. I considered eliminating the mobile radios, ones that are in the cars. But that is an officer security issue. We've got places in the township that our mobile radios are, I'm sorry, our portable radios do not get out. We don't receive traffic and we can't send traffic. So our mobile radios are, we have to have, unfortunately. So with that said, that's a total cost of $27,643.25. I would like to request whatever we can get from the ARPA funds to help us pay for this. With that, that will help us. I'm most likely going to have to push back another year of purchase of a cruiser, even with the ARPA funds, to be able to afford to do this upgrade. So I would like to request those funds from ARPA if possible.
I just looked up the mobile radios. 5 of them were purchased in January of 2010, according to the inventory here.
Local or portable?
Mobile were purchased in 2010, portable
60.
2015. So, yeah,
So they're,
there's something in 11. They're all Motorola, right?
Either way, they're not
They're
programmable.
old. They're old.
right. I had the Motorola come in, PNR Solutions. They represent Motorola. I had them come in and they ran each one of our radios, the serial numbers. And like I said, the portable's the one that we carry. They can receive the patch to upgrade the ones in the cars. They're boat anchors, basically.
And Shauna and Chief have both looked into grants, but have not been successful in.
We've looked for the last few weeks, we've been looking at the grants. The only grant we could find, unfortunately, was for fire departments up for radios. So
I think at this point, when we have the 16,000 and change left from ARPA, I'm fine with using the remaining balance, just taking it to zero and giving that to the police department to help purchase these radios.
Yeah, I agree. This is really kind of what the ARPA money is supposed to be used for, emergencies, which in this case.
It's required. We have no choice. We have to do it. So
You guys will.
I appreciate it.
I agree with that too. Is that something that we want to do now or wait till to see about the grant money if we get that? Or we were reimbursing the ARPA fund? How do we want to do that?
I think at this point, all we need to do is do an appropriation. Or agree that we're going to do it. I'll prepare the legislation for next month's meeting with the 16,000. If we get the additional 30,000, we can use, let's see, the total amount is 20. All right, how much is the total again, Chief?
26.
20,000,
27. So
643,
we can use
25.
another 11,000 out of that and do an additional piece of legislation to pay for that. But
That'll leave approximately 19,000 in the ARPA fund.
something like that, that'd be right. Yeah. So, you need to make this decision tonight, though. It sounds like
Yeah,
your
the
quote
quotes to
only
get
goes
the
till the
quote.
end of June, right? So I would say, as we've done in the past, let's do a resolution approving this purchase using general fund or police department money, which we then can come back next month and reverse and use ARPA money when I've been able to do the proper ARPA legislation. And perhaps it's better if we use the general fund tonight, just as a placeholder. Until next month, but it allows him to go forward with the commitment. And it sounds like will these actually get installed this year or will it be next year?
There, as you can imagine, there's a rush on it right now. Everybody's going through this. We have to have the portables upgraded by the end of this year. We have to have the mobiles installed by July 1st of 20. So I planned on just doing it as soon as possible. Going ahead and getting started on the quotes that we have because they're only going to go up.
Even if we can't get them installed this year, as long as the ARPA money is appropriated for this project, we have either till the end of 25 or the end of 26 to use it, which is way beyond your deadline. This is exactly the same thing that we gave the fire and EMS money for. A part of what we gave them was for this same purpose at the city.
They were able to use a grant.
A little grant.
Yeah.
For the radios, it was a small amount.
Yeah.
The other grant was larger, which was, I forget what that was for. So if you want to do this, we'll make that resolution 42.
I'll introduce resolution 2024-42, a resolution to replace the radios, the portable and mobile radios, per the Marks update, using general fund money.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would make sure you would clarify that you were updating the portables and replacing mobiles. Is that the correct?
That's correct.
Let's get that language, updating portables,
and
replacing mobiles. Mr. Stubbs, good with that?
Yes.
Mr. Potter,
Yes.
good with that? Any other discussion? Call the roll, Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-42 is adopted.
Thank you, guys.
And I will prepare our legislation for next month.
Chief,
That's all I have, sir.
I got a question. Any plans for the SRO for next year? It's going to be a transition that we're going from one.
Well, we found a company it's called G2G that uses retired officers. And that's basically what I was looking for to staff the second position at the school, was a retired officer. I couldn't find any. I've tried. It's almost impossible. So I had a meeting with the superintendent of the school, Scholler, and the owner of G2G. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to continue with one officer in the school, and G2G will have their own MOU with the school as well. It's what he's looking at. There's a retired Oakwood officer that he's going to assign to this position.
The school will be paying that person directly.
Yes, that they will have their own contract with them, just like they have one.
And who is this whole contract with?
G2G, it's Glory to God Solutions.
Thank you.
The
So,
owner's a retired Dayton officer. And everybody that he has working for him are retired officers.
so Officer Marsden will start off the year as it is right now for the.
Correct. Correct. And the plan is, long-term, is to, when Officer Marsden retires, which is going to happen sooner than later, G2G will take over both positions at the school.
So we will be out of the SRO.
Right.
Good.
And G2G has 5 schools. They do Troy. They have Vandalia Butler, Dayton Christian. Can't remember all of them, but they've got some large schools that they have contracts with.
These guys are pretty good as far as mobility wise.
Yeah, I was impressed with their training system. They train once a month with this type of situation, type situation. So I'm pretty impressed with them.
Will we have a contract for Sergeant Marsden, Officer Marsden?
Yeah,
So
we'll have an MOU soon. Yeah.
starts on.
I think we've been fully paid for last year, haven't we?
No, I don't think so. I think,
Valerie Hill contacted me the other day and we need to get her, the second invoice was overlooked in the transition from chiefs to,
yeah,
So
we're
still-
getting that,
second half, it has
we're
to.
getting that invoice to her
Okay.
tomorrow.
yeah, hopefully
They can cut a check.
we have to.
It was one of those things that got overlooked with, it was something that Anzick took care of. He was unaware. I never thought about it.
Thanks, Steve. Anything else?
That's-
Okey dokey. Moving on to the road department report, Jeremy.
Just a few things tonight. To bring back up, the LP gas pricing that we had talked about, last month. As far as I know, our pricing stands the same, except, Earhart, reached out and, they lowered their price to $1.44.9, with no pre-buy. And I got an email from Mr. Potter, with a price from Wood Propane at $1.44.9 also, but, with
Dollar.
Wood,
$1.44.
$1.44.9, that's what I said, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
Um,
$1.49.
No, both of them, both Earhart's new price and Wood's was $1.44.9. The only difference being that Wood would want us to prepay for 5,000 gallons up front. If we have a real light winter and we don't use all 5,000 gallons, I did call them and ask them, how that overcharge would be addressed. And they said that they would cut us a check at the end of the season for any remaining money on the books. Now, if we underbuy, then we pay market value for anything over the 5,000 is the way it was described to me.
I think that's true. But
I think the thing with Earhart is it's the same price. Don't have to pre-buy it. Their equipment's already installed. So they just drive by and they know whether we need.
Yeah.
So it would be my recommendation to go with Earhart, but I'll leave it.
just one thing, I don't know where our propane level is now. Whatever you buy now would be $1.34
Okay.
to fill up now. And then anything after that. So if there's 1,000 gallons, I don't know how big the tanks are.
That's 1,000 and there's a 500 out back that serves.
I don't know how low they are, but I'm just saying. It'd be $1.34 now. And then the pre-buy. Not 5,000 gallon, but 3,500 gallon, say. That's $1.44.
I could
Keep
check.
that in mind.
Yeah, I have to check on it because they have the automatic things that, that Earhart keeps an eye on. So I don't even have to check the tanks. And they just.
I understand. I just wanted to bring that up.
So I'll leave that to the board to make it, then we'll make a decision.
And just spearheading off your comment, Mr. Potter. Looks like we're currently paying for this season $1.64.9 with Earhart.
Yeah, and Earhart give us a price. When you asked for a price, it was $1.69. They quoted it.
And Apollo was $1.89.9 and Champion was $1.60 per gallon.
I think that since we're happy with Earhart's propane's service, I think that's.
And we'll do that as a resolution 2024-43.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-43 to utilize Earhart propane for our propane for this upcoming winter season. Is that correct?
At a price of $1.449
Per gallon, yeah.
per gallon.
Second. Any discussion of the resolution? Not, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-43 is adopted.
Thank you. The other thing I'm gonna report tonight is, after speaking with Shauna some time ago, and reviewing, the conditional use that the White Oak Corporation filled out on 6/2 of 2003, when they first started mining, the piece of property on the corner of State Route 123, Butter Street. It's come to my attention that one of the restrictions that was on that conditional use was, well, I'll just go ahead and read them all. It says, the hours of operations shall be during daylight hours only. No outside lighting is permitted on the site. And number 3, no driveway off of State Route 123 or from Butter Street on this subject parcel. Visual screening shall be 6 feet in accordance with section 2404A, and subject parcel shall contain an automatic dust suppression system on the haul road. I don't know about number 5. I don't think they're doing that either, but my main concern is number 3, no driveway off of State Route 123 or from Butter Street on the subject parcel. So I reached out to Anu Sharma with the Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office and asked her just to get her opinion on whether this conditional use still held fast since the property has changed ownership from Vital Corporation to SRM Materials. And she basically said, your zoning inspector has full control over making sure that these things are followed. And right now they're not. Now SRM probably is unaware of this, I would assume. So I'm asking the board's permission whether we can put them on notice that under this conditional use, that was case number 2003-05CU, that they're not allowed to be entering on and off of Butter Street, which they're doing quite a bit because every cement mixer that leaves the plant comes back to there to clean out. And they are just destroying.
They're also taking dump trucks also.
Yeah, and they're just destroying the intersection of 123 and Butter Street and damaging the berm where they're pulling out the tracks. So I wanted to get the board's permission to notify them of this
Yeah, because
restriction.
the conditional use goes with the property. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it goes with even ownership changes. It still
Right.
goes with the property. So those would still be enforceable.
Right.
So, yeah, so.
So what is the enforcement? Do you know? I mean,
that's the problem.
if we, we send them a letter, make them aware of it, if they don't quit, what is the process, I guess?
Well, that's the biggest problem. Really don't have much of a process as far as taking it to court and that.
Right.
That's how I would recommend, let's,
Would it not be similar to someone running a business that they're not supposed to be running and we send them a letter and say $500 a day fine for every time you get this long, and then after this long, we're accruing a $500 a day fine. They're doing something they're not supposed to do. Let them know, give them
yeah, the violation.
2 weeks,
Yeah,
And then
'cause
after
that's
that,
what it
can
is,
we
a
say-
violation.
Yeah, it's a violation.
$500 a day, because that's what it states in our zoning regulations.
Is ultimately, can the township revoke the conditional use if it's not followed?
I would check with
This
them.
job just gets more and more fun every day.
Like I said, a news email to me basically says, read it real quick. Have you spoken with Shauna Close, the zoning administrator? She has the authority to issue violations.
So once you would issue the violation, if they continued to not follow it, then I
Right,
think
that's-
we'd have to work with the prosecutor's office on what the next step would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, wouldn't it be like what we sent a letter to from the town oil saying it was
Can I answer
500?
the question? They're not, they're not
Jim, you
using.
want to say your name?
Yes, it's James Rowland, 10021 Carlisle Pike. They're not using, access on their property. They're using the access that's on Dup's right away along the railroad track. Dubs has the full right to lock up that and stop that access. If Dubs, because they're going through Dubs's access, because Dubs has access along that railroad tracks. They have a fence that's down there by Eckhart that they have that's locked up to keep people from using that access. Dubs could do exactly the same thing at the point that they're using it right now.
The problem I see with that, Mr. Rowland, is they'll just open up the second access.
Well, but,
Down Butter Street.
but if they open up a second access, then they're totally going against this and they're coming off, I mean, they're making a purposeful effort to go against things. Like right now, they're using an access that's there.
Yeah, I mean,
You see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're
can
saying.
he come, can they come and say, well, they gave us permission to use their access?
No,
It doesn't-
because it just said,
Comes off Butter Street.
no driveway, doesn't say who owns it.
Right.
It says no driveway off of State Route 123 or Butter Street.
But isn't the conditional use for the property that the property owner owned at that time?
Yeah,
Again, I think the
So if they don't
conditional
own,
They
The
said
Dubs
it's the
land.
transfers.
it is, I think Mr. Rowland's raised an
That's-
interesting point.
yeah.
That Dubs can lock it up. And then they've got-
Send it to Dubs. Or
But Dubs would be a good citizen and help us out.
Yes, I believe so. They did that there at the other one.
What do you know for sure that that's a Dubs access? Are you?
I'm pretty,
I'm 100% sure that part of, that part of it is. I don't know how much, because if you go to the other end, that they have access down Eckhart Road, they've moved their entrance over 20 or 35 foot. And the one that's on the other end is only about 8 foot from the railroad tracks.
I know White will always have the key to that gate. That's when they used to keep it locked. So is it Dubs or is it there?
It's part of both, I think.
and I think they could, I mean, if they wanted to, if Dubs told SRM, you're no longer able to use ours, they could do one of two things. They could move it over towards the phone node, which would be out of the railroad right away. It'd still be against the conditional use.
Right.
Or they could reopen the one that they have concrete blocks in front of, which is about approximately halfway between the tracks and the road.
Again, though, if they use that one, they were using it from Eckhart Road rather than from 123. So that's a safer one to use.
Yeah, I'd rather them see just use Eckhart.
Right.
Right. It would be a less of a stretch of public roadway, at least township maintained public roadway.
Well, the road was upgraded for that there.
Right.
It hasn't been upgraded on Butter Street.
Correct.
That's the difference between the two. Money was spent to make the road that's on Eckhart and the railroad track and everything handle that traffic.
case I would issue a violation, include the conditional use application. Was it 2003? And then we'll kind of go from there and see.
I would send that to SRM. Shauna and I can look at the aerial on the intersection of where the railroad tracks and that entrance is to see exactly where that entrance lies in relationship to the railroad right of way. And that'll kind of address Mr. Rollins' concerns, which are valid on, who should we be notifying? Is it the Dubs company or is it SRM? And then we'll go from there. So.
Sounds like a plan.
We'll issue that notice and see where that gets us. And if it doesn't get us anywhere, then we'll talk to the prosecuting attorney.
And they do have the water thing on their Sugar Street operation.
Right.
But
There's
they don't-
nothing.
But they don't have it on Eckhart. And they don't have it on Butter Street.
All right. The only other couple things real quick is just questioning where we're at on the building painting. I know Ms. Close got you some pricing on that, and the new township sign, I know somebody had brought up some stuff on that. I know she went to the work to get some pricing on that. I don't even know if it's still any good, because it's, we're 2 months out at least. So just,
I think we have to wait and make sure if this grant money comes in, then we'll have some extra ARPA money again.
Yeah, we're definitely using up the ARPA and
Well, I think the
Don't
building,
have-
I think the building painting is,
Necessary.
it's necessary. Especially the pointing. Especially on the backside that gets the most sun. Whether we get ARPA funds or not.
Yeah, I was talking about the sign. Which will help them. As far as we got two quotes, that's correct? You're happy with?
I would go with the higher of the two quotes because it actually included pointing it with mortar and not pointing it with latex caulk.
Yeah.
I think that's a more long haul solution. You know, the bill, obviously the building's moved over its age. So the mortar's cracked, starting to fall out. I think band-aiding it is just, personal opinion, kind of a waste of money.
What was that quote?
I don't remember at this point. I'd have to contact them and see if that's even still good.
Why don't you do that in next month?
Let me look them up here. That was 2 months ago.
I think
Let's check April's meeting and just see what's in the minutes. Would it have been in your report, Ms. Close? Or was it in yours, Mr. Old? It's in hers. Why we have minutes. Okay, it is from the April meeting. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Just a coincidence that we're.
It's funny because I just thought.
great minds think alike.
I need to go to that meeting tonight and talk about this. Because it's that time of year when it gets really bad and really dangerous there on Butter Street.
But you've seen the intersection, it's
Well,
all tore up.
And mine, in front of my road there, it's the state highway has got a big gap taken out of it. And they keep throwing chips and dust in there and it keeps pushing it off and
Well, the more gravel you put there, they keep driving on that. Yeah, it just gets
and it
worse.
just keeps breaking off more of or not the interstate, highway, state highway.
Okay, the two quotes. One came from Mike White. Work description, scrape loose paint, caulk gaps, paint all walls, 2 coats to include pipes and conduit. Total is $2,100. That quote was from February 1st. Second quote is from Randy King. And I don't see a date on it. It was in 2 sections, but the details are pretty much the same. Grind and tuck point, 220, a total of 280 linear feet of damaged mortar joints. Paint 2 coats in the total square footage and paint 100 feet of gutter and downspout. Between the police side and the township side, a total of $5,000.
Do you want me to reach out? Make sure that those quotes are still.
Say those aren't current. We need to get new quotes.
And then we can discuss it. So obviously want to do it during the summer.
I'd say they're super busy right now.
Get on the books maybe. Jeremy, is that it?
That's it, I'm sorry.
The zoning department report, Shauna.
Things have slightly calmed down last month in zoning. 3 permits were written in May: storage barn on Germantown Pike, a pole barn on Conservancy, and a shed on Big Twin Terrace. We have a public hearing for case 2024-03CU. And I apologize if I butcher this name. Juanitas on Preble County Line Road will be held tomorrow, June 11th at 7 p.m. It's a long split. I don't have a lot going on in zoning at the moment. For now, apparently. I wanted to make a quick note with trash. I was doing reports for Mr. Houston, and between January 1st and June 1st, 2024, there have been 251 trash payments made using the online credit card system, totaling $16,188.25. I know it doesn't, comparatively speaking to how much we get from bringing the trash in or the trash payments in, doesn't sound like much, but that is a lot of checks, $60 at a time that I have not had to input manually. So I would like to once again thank the trustees for allowing me to set up that payment system, and I'm hoping more people start using that.
Ask you a question. Has SRM finished their appeal?
We're not allowed to discuss that
Oh,
for
I
our,
just didn't know if I didn't know.
for
if you
our
heard-
legal
heard-
counsel.
I didn't know if you'd heard yet.
Yeah. I inquired and we're not allowed to.
That's fine. That's enough said.
But, that is all I got.
Thanks, Don, appreciate it. Zoning department reports, Mr. Potter. Trustee reports, I'm sorry.
With their park meetings, the new roof has been put on the depot, with a new gutter. Looks really good. We're ready for the 4th of July parade Thursday at 10 o'clock. I give you guys you'll be leaving from Kircher Park to Veterans Park. Dale and Valerie Fornshell will be the grand marshal. Blake resigned from the park board, and a new board member is Amber Pritchett. She was at the meeting the other day for the first time. MMI is finishing up the details for the building plaque and should be ordered here in the next couple weeks. I recently talked to a local mason about laying up the column for the plaque and the cornerstones. Looks like he will do that for volunteer of his labor. We'll get started on that after the fair, along with working on the trail and 4 of the memorials that'll be along the trail on the north side, going back halfway to Lidle's property, Daniel's Peace Park. As far as the erosion on Little Twin, me and Ron Wine had a conference call with Ashley Elrod. She's with the Public Works Commission. She is helping us with an application for the OPWC District 4 grant funding for the Little Twin project. Stacy Balance is the contact person for the District 4 funding. The application is due September the 11th. I sent the trustees an email and Mark of a draft of a letter giving Ron Wine the authority on the behalf of German Township to help with this application. We need to approve him to do that. And also I resubmitted the application for the Senate funding that Naraj did not submit to President Matt Huffman, the senator. Judy from the city is the one that suggested that, and thank her for that.
He's going to be our new senator starting in January. We will be at redistrict.
Redistrict. So I sent you guys a letter or a note about Ron Wine being just giving him the authority to do the application for the grant. What your thoughts on that is?
What cost?
No cost.
He's not charging us by the hour to,
Nope, none at all. He gets a 10%, like I said, like he tries to on the other thing. If he makes this 10%, at no cost to do this whatsoever.
Not sure if I'm comfortable giving him that authority for us, basically.
Yeah.
Again, is what he did at Kircher Park, is it actually working?
Very much so.
When you look down there, it didn't look like the course of the creek had really changed that, where the sandbar is and all.
Oh, it has changed a lot. If you've been down there. Yep, I was down there. I go down there every couple of weeks. It's actually got grass and weeds growing up in the trees and stuff that they put in there. None of that has moved. The creek is over. It has washed about half of that sandbar out that's in the middle. So it's working.
I think it's tough to give somebody who doesn't have any ties to the township authority from the township. Like, I mean, it's one thing when we give Jeremy permission to go.
All it is I'm just saying, all it is an application for a grant. No, nothing.
I think that he can make that application. He can actually put together the application. I think, don't quote me on this. But then the Board of Trustees has to sign it. I don't
Yes,
think you should give, I don't think he needs any kind of resolution or anything like that to put the application together. Because I know when we did issue 2 projects for the roads, Kramer and Associates actually was our engineering firm. And we didn't have to give them any authority to sign on our behalf. The board gave me the authority to sign on behalf.
Yes. So,
But I think in this situation, the board should just keep their authority to sign the application. That way, the application will come before you, you can review it, and you can sign it. I don't know that he I don't know. I mean, that's not how it worked some time ago. Kramer and Associates was the engineering company for the township. They would put together the application.
Yeah.
And they would do the engineering, and they would forward all that to this office, and I would review it, and I would sign it, or the board would sign it. Because I know there is some places where the only person that can sign it is the fiscal officer. Because he's the one that's gonna have to say the money's available.
yes, nothing is going to be signed. Nothing is going to be, it all has to come in front of the board.
Right. But I don't know, I guess my only statement is I don't know that he needs any kind of formal authority.
We can table this. This does not have to be, nothing is being submitted till September.
Right.
So I will get more information and we'll revisit this.
At a very minimum, this needs to go to the prosecutor's office, I would say, before we've made any.
Because
I don't like giving someone that's not that's not one of us.
employee, elected
Right,
official.
right, authority to do anything.
In the list of things that he needs for that application wasn't one like an engineering consult. So who's gonna pay for that?
It would all be it's all in the grant. There'll be, nobody's paying for anything. It's just asking to do the project. There'll be nobody paying for nothing unless we get grant money. And that the grant money for the engineering would all be included if we get grant money.
There's a lot of there's a lot of local match you're gonna have to put against that to make it competitive.
That's, yes, so that'll all have to be brought up.
I mean, 25% isn't even competitive anymore. That's the only bad thing. That's kind of why we got out of that game, is because we couldn't be competitive with Dayton and
Yeah.
Montgomery County and Oakwood, and Kettering, and all these other places that could just throw massive amounts of in-kind and local match to the project. They were getting like 50% local match. And that was just, our little 25% local match wouldn't hit.
I can get more information and we'll revisit this.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way to go. Anything else?
Nope, that's all for me.
Mr. Stubbs?
All right, just a few things tonight. Cemetery, last month was Memorial Day, and the last month. I would just like to say that Joe, Bruce, and Keith did an absolutely fantastic job of getting the cemetery ready. Despite rain, they had several burials the week prior, and they were still able to keep up. They did come in on a couple Saturdays to make sure they were in good shape, which I appreciate them doing. I'd like to thank Ben DeGroat for a donation of mulch that we used at the entryway down there prior to Memorial Day. Helped to make it look good down there. The Kubota UTV or RTV, whatever they call it, is in. The amount of time, Keith, I was talking to Keith tonight, the amount of time he's saving on anything he does, really. The Kubota is able to go in between headstones that the backhoe can't. And they've been able to definitely shave time off what they're doing and be more efficient. And in the long run, one of the comments tonight was, can't believe we didn't do this 10 years ago. So That's been a great purchase so far and will continue to be. The backhoe is currently at Caning. It had a hydraulic issue, the loader, so that's being taken care of. They had 3 funerals this week, which were all cremations, which they were able to hand dig because we didn't have a backhoe. So they got lucky on that. They were just small.
I know.
Yeah,
Can't think into
absolutely.
a pickle,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
We've done that before. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. They're up to, we talked about tonight as well, 8,000 plus hours on it. So, yeah, so it's not something we're going to replace now, but it's something that's going to have to be replaced within the next probably 2 or 3 years, or at least look into it. But luckily, it's a lot smaller than the one we have here, so the cost won't be nearly as bad. So the cemetery had a CD through Huntington Bank that matured and was done. So today I went to Huntington. It's been a very long time there as they were short staffed. We have closed our CD, we closed the account, and that money, the check I brought back to Bob today, will be put into Star Ohio this week. Some $36,000 is going to be transferred into Star Ohio. Huntington offered to redo the CD, but with Star Ohio, you can take the money out whenever you need it if there's a need. It makes it a lot easier to use. So the board chose to close the CD and instead put the money in Star Ohio. Focus on Your Future Day was supposed to be last month prior to Memorial Day, but for the second time, the weather had other plans. So the high school students were not able to come out that day. Hopefully next year, with our 3rd attempt, we'll be able to have them and get some work, and hopefully they can gain some appreciation for the cemetery and the community. Mr. Potter mentioned it earlier, but the Niraj, our Senator Niraj Antani decided not to submit the projects that we had asked him to as I guess a protest from what I read in the Dayton Daily News, that he didn't think it was a good idea, whatever. Not our projects, but the whole bill in general. So I resubmitted the cemetery wall project to Senate President Huffman yesterday, to his legislative aide. So I guess we'll see where that goes. We talked about Edis already, but it's been great to have him here as part of our department, and he will definitely be greatly missed. And I believe, Mark Keener, I spoke with him earlier today. The JED meeting for Wednesday has been canceled as the board had agreed in January when to meet, but then only Mark Keener was available for the meeting on Wednesday when it came to it. So unfortunately, it has been pushed back at least 2 weeks, as I don't think they even sent a notice out for it again. So JED meeting will maybe happen in 2 weeks.
And do you know anything, Mr. Stubbs, about where we stand on tax collections?
From the JED?
Yes.
I do not.
Because I'm just going to look it up. We have not received payment from them in forever.
Okay.
And I think they're having just difficulty getting.
But
workers.
they at least have the employee holdings. Let's see when the last time was we received money from them.
Well, shockingly, I don't think it ended up being the golden goose that we were led to believe it was going to be by.
Well, it may not be the total amount we expected. The last time we received something was on January. Well, we've not received any tax money since January.
Mr. Heaston, may I say something?
I didn't know you were on the call.
I am here. Mark Keener, 7865 Jamaica Road. I generally cut those checks when we have our quarterly meetings. And so because they require 2 signatures, so I generally would have Mr. Stiver co-sign those checks when we would meet quarterly. However, due to due to a lack of notice, and then a decision was made to cancel the March meeting. And as Mr. Stubbs said, nobody but me apparently wrote down the fact that we were going to have our June meeting on June 12th. So they have now postponed that until the 26th. So I will be cutting checks, assuming we still meet on the 26th. We'll be cutting checks then, and we'll slip one under the door. So as far as the rest of the collections, I don't have the actual amounts in front of me. We are seeing a little bit more, but as Mr. Stubbs said, it's not the golden goose that anybody expected. And I don't think, I know that Kelly from Farmersville has been working with the general contractor over there to try and get the subcontractors to remit, but we really don't have any real authority to do anything with that. So our hands are kind of tied to force them unless they, voluntarily comply with the letters. So Mr. Stiver had indicated that he was going to contact the attorney for the JED to see if there was anything that could be done about that, but I don't know if that's been done. So.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so with that, that concludes my report.
Okay. So I attended the 6/3/24 Germantown Council meeting. The highlights were this was the law director Schiff's last council meeting. There was no mention of his future plans or who was replacing him. Council voted to expand the door hours from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. on 6/12, 7/10, and 8/14, which are all Wednesday evenings, to accommodate the movie and the park events. But the Germantown Lions are going to sell beer that night, right?
In cooperation with the Valley View Academic Booster Plaza, that's correct.
So council did approve vacating the alley behind 21 West Market Street, I guess is the flooring team, which you real good at. During a work session, William Easton discussed expanding the Kircher Park tennis complex. They want to increase from 4 courts to 10 courts, and will eventually have a restaurant concession facility. These will also be striped for pickleball. So it's going to be all privately funding. Phase 1, as far as the new tennis courts, is going to be $700,000. Phase 2 will be $400,000, and they have already raised $140,000 to. They have an architect and a contractor. So again, that's all private funding. So we'll see how it goes. It's a lot of money. I will get changes to the zoning resolution to the recorder's office sometime this week. So I'd also like to introduce resolution 2024. You all should have a copy of that.
So we'll make that number 44.
And this all comes about that Shauna was approached or had a phone call from someone who wanted to see if there was any regulation as far as marijuana dispensaries. So decided to put this resolution together so we can, let's read it and then we can discuss it and see what you guys think also. So resolution 2024-44, a resolution to prohibit adult use cannabis operators and medical marijuana operators, including cultivators, processors, and retail dispensaries within the unincorporated area of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio. Whereas on November 7th, 2023, voters in Ohio approved Issue 2, which enacts Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. And whereas Chapter 3780, effective December 7th, 2023, authorizes and regulates recreational adult use cannabis operators in the state of Ohio. And whereas ORC 3780.25 authorizes townships to prohibit or limit the number of adult use cannabis operators as defined in ORC 3780.01 within the unincorporated area of the township. Whereas medical marijuana is regulated in Ohio by Chapter 3796 of the Ohio Revised Code. Whereas ORC 3796.29, effective September 8th, 2016, similarly authorizes townships to prohibit or limit the number of marijuana cultivators, processors, or retail dispensaries within the unincorporated area of the township. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds in the best interest of German Township to prohibit adult use cannabis operators licensed under Chapter 3780 as well as medical marijuana cultivators, processors, and retail dispensaries licensed under chapter 3796 within the unincorporated area of the township. Now therefore be it resolved that cultivation, processing, or retail dispensing of marijuana for medical purposes is hereby specifically prohibited anywhere within German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio. And now therefore be it resolved that adult use cannabis operators, including adult use dispensaries, are hereby specifically prohibited from operating within the unincorporated area of German Township, Montgomery County, Ohio. If approved, this resolution will go into effect immediately. So basically, I took this from, again, a template from Ohio.
Can we get a second before we discuss it?
Yeah.
Second.
So I took this, most of this from a template from the Ohio Township Association. I tend to do that. This is, we had a few years back, put a moratorium on medical marijuana dispensers and cultivators and processors. That I'm sure is already gone. If you watch the news, you see that a lot of communities have put moratoriums on this. I mean, you can put a moratorium, but then you have to do something with that moratorium. I think we're at the point where we just prohibit it. Keep it simple. Input from,
Perfect. Yeah, I like it.
I agree.
As long as the law does the cultivator part, because I don't see how limit somebody what they can plant on their land if it's a legal crop. That's the only question.
I think it's for,
That's why I say as long as the law, the
Yeah.
state ORC, because it's part of whatever ORC says.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's covered. Yeah, so. I think again, by putting this, we just kind of wrap that, I don't think anyone would come out here anyway, certainly as a dispensary.
I was just, I don't think the dispensary or any of that processing, but when we are a farming community, cultivating a crop is cultivating a crop. I mean, and so less,
But I think it's covered under a whole different set of,
well, that's what I was saying, as long as ORC has it spelled out that way.
There's only so many plants, a household.
correct.
Tell how much I know about it. Nothing.
So if the board is comfortable with that.
Any further discussion? Now I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
yes,
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-44 is adopted.
That is all I have. Is there anything else? Comments or anything? David, good to see you back. Thank you. Wow. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:32. Good night, everyone.